All right, I say this with love, and obviously something happened. So I say this with love. If you're pretty sure you don't want them, then I'm pretty sure I cannot coach them. Two takeaways from this comment is it's safe to say that I'm a pretty transparent person and coach, and sometimes hard things have to be said. And the second thing I want to share with you is something must have happened for me to be able to share this topic with you today. I'm going to have a little fun with it, and I hope that you're open to having a few laughs with me as well. A lot of times, this stuff it's not funny when it's happening to us. It's not funny when it's happening to you. If you've ever been in a relationship, a marriage, any kind of partnership, the jokes are always funny when it's with someone else's relationship. It's never funny when it's our relationship with that other person. And just like sometimes I joke, it's always funny when it's somebody else's husband that did that. It's never really funny when my husband does this. So, what I'm talking about today is a conversation that I had last week that I think is just kind of funny, and I'm going to share a little bit more of it today. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host for Business Vitality. And you can learn more about me at LinkedIn. You can also find me on the internet at catherinecantey.com. And this past week, I had an opportunity to speak with a group of SHRM HR professionals, wonderful, talented people. These are the folks that get the craziest stories probably in the whole company. They get the wildest stories probably ever heard. And if you don't believe me, call your HR professional, buy them lunch because they need lunch. As they reminded me during COVID, during everything for the past 3 years, their jobs did not stop. If anything, their jobs actually just compounded and compounded and compounded because, as we all know, people are what drives business, relationships are what drives business. And they have been working, HR has been working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 365 days out of the year, and compound that over the past 3 or 4 years of this COVID crazy world that we are now adjusting to. And HR didn't stop, and they kept plowing through. And so as I met with these HR professionals, it just reminded me of what great strategic partners they have been for me when I was in corporate. They would tell me what I could do, what I couldn't do, what the consequences were going to be if I chose one of these decisions. And they were always just a great strategic partner. And I think that they are still wonderful strategic partners for anybody on the leadership team in any business. They can really keep you safe. They can give you some great guidance, and they just keep a very level head through a lot of crazy conversations that peak up throughout the day. And I couldn't help but share one of my HR experiences when I was in corporate. This was 20 something years ago, a long time ago. And I shared the story of Debbie needed to meet with the management team, with the manager, and I was up in the executive offices at the time, and I'm overhearing this conversation. We were in an operations center, and I'm overhearing this kind of in my office with one ear, in my work, and one ear with the hallway conversation, which we've all probably been guilty of. And I heard, well, somebody needs to call Debbie. Her work is declining, and we need to have a conversation with her to let her know that the rest of the team can't keep carrying her workload. And they said, okay, well, we'll get Debbie, but Debbie doesn't meet without her pocketbook. And we're like, well, okay. So they called Debbie, but she needed to go get her pocketbook. And so they went back and they let her go get her pocketbook. And as Debbie went to go get her purse, she came back, and the word got out that Debbie was packing. So Debbie is packing a gun, and everybody knew it because we're in this operations building, and this is 20 something years ago, not a big deal. And it's small town, rural communities that I love to support. So I mean, everybody knows everybody, and when you live in a rural community, you have concealed weapons, and I'm acting like it's not a big deal, but 20 years ago, it was kind of a different world. And so Debbie needed to meet with the manager. The manager then realizes that Debbie had to go get her pocketbook to come meet. And then we're like, uh-oh, she's packing. So we got to really delicately handle this conversation that performance is declining. And we really need to get Debbie back on the path to performance again. So, I'm just kind of listening as I'm sitting at my desk listening to this with HR and the leadership team. And they managed to get through it. They get through the meeting, Debbie leaves, disaster averted. And then from that meeting, we see HR step in like they do many times and begin to research, how do we reduce the meetings that just happened? How can we nicely tell people that you can't bring your gun to work anymore? And so I'm downplaying a lot of this, but you got to have this cool, calm mind, and that is what HR brings to the table. It's a very cool, calm, collected mind. How do we figure this out? So, long story short, if you see the concealed weapon permit signs, they have to be made on a certain size. They have to be placed on a certain place on the door. And so I'm just kind of sharing this story with HR professionals, and they all have a story. And it may not be of Debbie packing. It may be, some other crazy scenario that they've had to experience lately. And we talk about how this one conversation then trickles into so many other conversations for leaders within the company. And so we had to get these signs made. First, we had to learn that we could put the signs out there that no concealed weapons were permitted on the in the building. And then we had to figure out where they had to be placed, what size they needed to be. And then we realized, well, this was just one building of 42 that we were working in. So then we had to create policies and procedures. And people wonder, where do these policies come from? They come from small conversations, usually with HR, to help us figure out how do we protect our workforce. And it was just a scenario that then created a 6-month project of how do you roll out the proper signage to all of these people with across the state that we were working in. And then also it trickled into the other brands that we were supporting at the time or a partner of. And so it just kind of turns into one small conversation about a team member that needed to go get her pocketbook. And then we learned that we probably need to put signage on the outside of the building, which then impacted all of the other offices that we are working with. So, the HR professionals, they deal with stories like this all day long. They have the wildest stories. So I'm in here and I'm meeting with a group of SHRM or HR professionals. Their certification stands for SHRM, and we had a good time being able to kind of go down memory lane. And a lot of times when I'm meeting with these folks, with my clients, and I shared it with this HR group, a lot of times folks call me and they're like, I don't know if you can help, but I have this problem and I want to be able to talk through it. And so I love being able to problem solve with other people and co create solutions. If I listen to what the problem is long enough, we can figure out what the root cause is and we can create a couple of solutions that might make your life a little bit easier. And if you're dialing in now, I'd love to just hear from you. Put in the comment section where you're coming from. I think it's a lot of fun to kind of get to see the different cities and the states that we're connecting from. If you're just joining, my name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach, a podcast host of Business Vitality. You can learn more about me and my services at catherinecantey.com or even on LinkedIn. And for folks who don't know me, I partner with businesses, executives, leaders, and teams to achieve measurable leadership change. We're able to do this using practical applications and is able to create accelerated results for the leaders that we're working with. And as I'm telling you this story of how I met with these HR professionals last week, I shared some of my client successes, and these client successes can be found on my website, catherinecantey.com. And I've shared with them, I've been able to work with clients. They've been able to create 100% measured success. I am one of 12 master stakeholder center coaches in the US using Marshall Goldsmith's stakeholder center coaching process. I have one client that they had a goal of 24 months. If we can just get these leaders to a certain place within 24 months, that would be success. And we were able to create that change within 90 days. We measured leadership change within 90 days, and there was success there. And then also, we were able to measure again at 180 days. And so they created success again for the next 90 days. So it's been fun. Prior to my leadership coaching, I worked in corporate, as I mentioned. I managed a proposal team that put together 3,000 proposals over the course of 10 years. And we had a 90% success rate working together, bringing together the silos and the teams that we're all familiar with. And we're able to just create great results that were a win for the client, a win for the company, and a win for our team. And so it was a lot of fun. I also shared some other successes because I don't think that work just stays at work. I think who we are, it expands over to who we are at home, and who we are at home is who we are at work. And I shared with this HR team, or these group of HR professionals, that I use these same processes with coaching, the same processes that I call business vitality. It's just the good stuff that people and businesses are doing month after month, year after year, decade after decade, that are creating the results. And so we use these same processes in my hometown to help facilitate a $12.1 million public private partnership. That money was then used to help close our broadband gap. It's not completely fixed, but it's significantly better. We were able to put in 256 miles of fiber as a result of that partnership. Other successes that I've been able to participate with is renovating a downtown city block, and just renovating countless residential homes. All of this is just while I'm working full time at the bank and traveling. And you just plan a little bit on the weekends, and you outsource and delegate during the week and come back and check on it. And I smile now. It did not all go perfectly every single time. I had to let go of a lot, like a lot I had to let go of. But at the end of the day, it all managed to work out. And bottom line is, creatively solving problems with other people is what I love to do. And working with these HR professionals, I just kind of shared that with them. There's no perfect out of the box solution that's going to work. And a lot of the work that I'm doing is being co-created with the leaders, with the HR team, with the managers, within the organization, to help really deliver results. And I tailor it to fit the individual needs. I try to meet people where they are. I try to stretch the way they're thinking just a little bit. I ask these questions. I am pretty transparent. I am pretty, open. And if I see something that needs to be shared, I'm going to ask, hey, do you mind if I share something hard with you, if I know they're not in the right place? And so, I'll stretch them just a little bit, but try not to stretch them too far. And I think that the mix of all of this is what is allowing my clients to afford some more successes. And so, I like to give hope that there's solutions to problems. And with executive coaching, I think there's a lot of great opportunities. I've made a ton of mistakes, over my career and over my life. And if I can pay it forward and help other people along the way, that is what I want to do. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. Marshall Goldsmith was kind enough to train me with his 4 decades proven process of executive coaching, and I love it. And this is my way to just keep paying it forward. I'm doing this because I know that I cannot pay back somebody who helped me 20 years ago, because they're retired and they're, out drinking their Pinot Noir and enjoying retirement. So there's nothing that I can really do to thank them. But what they did for me was pay it forward to me, and I want to pay it forward to the next person. And that's what I'm doing with executive coaching. And so I get through this entire HR meeting, HR professionals, and we get through this whole meeting, and somebody comes up to me afterwards, somebody who's been doing this for a long time, and they start asking questions about executive coaching and how does my process work. And then they kind of quietly ask these questions, and this is kind of where the conversation turned a little bit. They quietly asked, do I work, does Catherine work with violent people in the office? And I just kind of took it in. And then the conversation went on to say, do I work with verbally abusive people in the office? And then he went on to say, do I work with people who throw things, like throw staplers at other people in the office? And I thought for a minute, maybe this is a joke. And then I thought, he's not laughing and he's kind of whispering about it. And I finally had to say, no, I think it's safe to say my clientele doesn't normally throw staplers at people or scream or violent to people. I mean, I think the most violent thing I had that comes to mind was a man that had a hammer at the office, and you would hear him pull the hammer out of the drawer, but the only reason he pulled the hammer out of the drawer was because the staples on the back of the reports kind of got scratchy, and he wanted to smooth it out because they kept catching on things. So I guess we should have put a hammer in the solution with this person who's throwing staplers and see if this would help, but that's probably not going to work either. Um, so anyway, after he says, "Do I work with violent people? Do I work with verbally abusive people? And can I coach people who throw staplers?" I very calmly said, "No, that's just not my clientele." And I just kind of thought it was funny. Only with HR would you guys have the thing that comes to you, this opportunity that comes to you, and somebody says, they're really good at their job, they just need to stop throwing staplers at other people. I mean, that's kind of, I'm sure if you're in HR, you have a crazy story like that. And obviously, as I dug into this, I was speaking with this individual, and I said, my core says to me that we have bigger problems on the table than one person who's throwing a stapler, or somebody who's verbally abusive, or somebody who's violent at work. There's bigger issues that are going on, and I think that probably needs to be explored, because the reason that my clients are successful is because they have strong leadership at the top of the organization. And for me, this organization does not sound like it's going to sustain for the long term, or that leadership team is not going to sustain for the long term because they're allowing certain behaviors to exist in the workplace that's just not healthy. And, if I were brought into a scenario like that, I would definitely have to share with them that this is not healthy at work. This is not healthy at the office. And if this is being allowed, then there are obviously bigger issues that are being taken place. And I kind of have to joke as I look at this. I've been out doing executive coaching for the last few years, and it kind of makes me think about a couple of other kind of funny things that have happened. Folks have asked for me to help coach other people to overcome. But keep in mind, I'm an executive coach, leadership coach. If you look at stakeholder centered coaching, it's been used by half of the Fortune 100 CEOs. It is a very efficient, very effective method of really accelerating and really creating recognized leadership change. And some of these questions that have gotten to me over the years that have percolated that are kind of in line with violent, verbally abusive people who throw staplers. Um, I had somebody come to me, and they asked if I could coach somebody who was sleeping with someone else in the office, to kind of coach that relationship apart. And I have to tell you, that's not really my clientele as well. And then I had someone else come to me, and they're not sure they want to keep this person. They've already fired them once, and they're not sure if they're going to keep them again, and wanted to know if I could kind of help them work through that. And again, the folks that we're working with, they're really successful people, and we're just taking them a little bit further. These are folks that are, you know, creating success where they are, and we just want to stretch them a little bit more. And it's kind of a theme, just a few things that have bubbled up that I kind of thought would be humorous to bring up on a springtime LinkedIn live, which is, if you're not sure you want to keep them, that's what this all boils down to. Are these people that are coming to ask me, they're asking for help because they don't know if they want to keep them. And my solution is if you're on the fence and you're not sure you want to keep them, then I'm pretty sure that my coaching services are not going to turn them around in order to change like lifestyle decisions that they've made along the way. These are folks that I'm working with that are creating the results. They have courage, they have discipline, they have humility, and these are the folks that we're working with that are continuing to grow within the company and to be able to lead the organization much longer down the road. And I think we've all been there where we see how much time it takes to work on the underperformers, and it really drains on HR. It really drains on the leadership team, we all have these one or two people that continue to come up in conversations that we're just not sure what we're going to do. And I really want to pivot our thinking from the focusing on the underperformers and really pivot and focus on who are our top performers and who are the people that are even in the middle of the road that aren't really making a lot of noise one way or the other. What if we love on them? What if we coach on them and see how far we can take them? There's a real opportunity to be able to take these top performers, these average performers, and take them into a positive direction versus taking the same allotted time that we have day in and day out and focus on the underperformers. So I want to pivot the way we're thinking and move more towards how do we help the folks that are performing and how do we help the folks that are overperforming and like just overachieving good people that we want to keep investing in. These are the folks that we want to work with. And in case you're just joining, my name is Catherine Cantey. You can find more about me at catherinecantey.com. Obviously, you can learn more about me at LinkedIn. I am an executive coach, and I partner with businesses, executives, leaders, and teams to create measurable leadership change. We're doing that using practical applications. It is accelerating the results for these top performers within the company. They are becoming recognized by their stakeholders, by their managers as becoming a more effective leader, not just a manager, but a more effective leader in the organization. And I'm sharing kind of this background of experience that I had last week meeting with a group of HR professionals, and some of the things that I heard that I thought would be kind of fun to be able to share with you guys. And as we get back into this topic, I want to really pivot on. I know we get bogged down with the people that are not performing, but what if we focus on the folks that are performing and the folks that we haven't even given the attention to that are just showing up day in and day out? What if we give them the coaching opportunity to stretch and to grow and to invest in them? I remember being at a Gartner conference years ago. The speaker was Brent Adamson. If you've ever been to a Gartner conference, back then I think it was called a CEB conference. If you've ever seen him on stage, he's very dynamic. He tells fantastic stories. He later confesses that maybe they're not all his stories, but he's got to tell stories up there. So we may borrow a bit or few of these stories, which is part of his personality. Great guy. I've learned a bunch from him. Written great sales books and business development books, research, and has fun with it. And so he's on the stage, and I'm listening to him at the sales conference, and he shares that the research shows if we can focus on improving the middle of the road folks, focus on the top performers, and we just push them a little bit further, we invest in them a little bit further, our results as a company and as a team are going to be much greater than if we take that same energy and just work with the underperformers. And so it just really hits home. All these different conversations that I've had over the years, whether it's in the operations center with Debbie, whether it's working with HR professionals last week and listening to some of their quiet pains in the back of the room, whether it's a conversation or a talk that I heard from Brent about what if we focus on the top performers and what if we focus on even the average performers and just take them just a little bit further and invest in them with coaching. How much better are we going to be as a company and as a whole? So, as we kind of close this out, I want to share a few questions, and these greater questions that are really bubbling out from these conversations are: why do we keep holding on to the underperforming team members? They're draining the others that are around us. They're not really helping, and so is the world really going to end? Is the work really going to just come to a screeching halt if they're no longer here? I have seen folks that were the backbone of companies no longer there, and it still went on. Like it still works. And, that's hard to believe that if we're no longer in some of these positions, that the company still rolls on. Yeah, there may be a few bumps in the road, but it still happens. It's still getting done. So is the world really going to end if we let go some of these underperformers that are holding us back? Is this challenge of letting this person go, is it a reflection more on us that maybe we just don't want that extra perceived work? Is it going to feel like it's a burden to us that we have to go out and hire and replace? Or could it be that once you remove this toxic energy from the workplace, and this is all easier said than done, believe me, I have seen this, I have been in it. But if we remove that toxic energy, does the rest of the team just like sigh of relief? Just, whew, they're gone. And like the energy comes back. Could that be the upside to letting go of some negative energy of some underperforming team members? I also want to keep in mind that the message that we send to those we do want to keep is being very loud and clearly heard by them when they see the underperformers still getting away with what they've always gotten away with. And finally, what if we spend, and I've said this a few times, but what if we spend more time focused on rewarding the behaviors that we want to see in the workplace versus focusing on something that we don't want in the workplace? So, as we kind of close out, as Brent Adamson used to say a number of times on the stage, I remember listening to this, for change to take place, the pain of same has to be greater than the pain of change. And that quote has stuck with me over the past probably 10 years since I've heard him share that. And I think it's been quoted by many other people, but I heard it first from him. And, as I closed out my talk with my HR professionals, a lot of times we schedule calls, we talk to people. The conversation starts with, "Hey, Catherine, I don't know if you can help, but this is what I've got going on." And to be honest with you, I would love to hear from you. I love to co-create solutions that work for you, that create a win-win. I'm an executive coach, a podcast host, a business vitality. Business vitality is my framework of 20 plus years in corporate, and also all the leadership that I've learned along the way of how do you build stronger relationships within the company? How do you tear down silos? How do you create more collaborations so we can create better solutions for the customers? I love business development talking. I've spent a number of years, over a decade, working on new business development for one company that I've worked with. And it's a lot of fun to be able to co-create solutions with others. And just wanted to take a few minutes, kind of joke a little bit about a serious topic. HR professionals are really our strategic partners in the organization. Buy them a cup of coffee, take them to lunch, do something nice for your HR professional, because who knows what crazy story they heard today, or Lord forbid, you are going to bring them some crazy story in the coming weeks that you didn't even see was going to be happening. And they're going to help you get through it. And just wanted to share some of these funny experiences that have been happening along the way. One that bubbled up last week that I just thought would be fun. It's only fun because it is happening to someone else. But when you are the person, much like when it's your husband, that's part of the joke, it's not funny. But when it's somebody else's husband, it can be funny. So very much in the workplace, and what happens at work and happens at home, it's very similar. So just wanted to jump in and share this. And if you would like to learn more about me, you can find me at catherinecantey.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And if you're interested in scheduling some time, there's a calendar link on my calendar. I would love to hear from you. What kind of problems, what kind of opportunities do you see at work right now? Do you need help co-creating a solution? And it would be an honor to be able to jump on the call and just be able to listen to what's going on in your world and seeing if we can't co-create something. So thanks again for being here. My name is Catherine Cantey, and you can find more of me, about me, at catherinecantey.com. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.